Are you busy for the right reasons?
Get your daily dose of motivation on the Motivational Moments with Michelle podcast. In Motivation with Michelle podcast, you'll get encouraging, uplifting, and life-changing wisdom that will transform your world at your fingertips, 24-hour a day. Get a fuller, deeper revelation of the tools you can implement to see incredible transformation in your life from Michelle Newstedter's powerful teachings. Tune in whenever you need to be edified, uplifted, or a dose of motivation, no matter where you are. Subscribe to Motivational Moments with Michelle podcast with Michelle Newstedter today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SoundCloud.
Hey there, and welcome to this Wednesday Word of Wisdom. My name is Michelle Newstedter, and I'm really glad that you are joining me today. I want to ask you a question. Are you busy for the right reasons? Being too busy can feel very overwhelming. It's this stress-inducing state that we can find ourselves in when life is just feels like chaos, feels like there's just too much going on. You know, if you have this gigantic to-do list and it feels like such little time to actually get it all done, you know, with how full your schedule is, with how overbooked you are, with how many things you have on your plate. And this is like speaking to the choir, right? Because this is self-inflicted. We can almost find ourselves being addicted to being busy. Some of us might actually be addicted to that idea of keeping busy, and it can be influenced by a number of different reasons. You know, one of the reasons why some of us really love being busy is that when we complete tasks, our brain releases a pleasure hormone into our body, making it feel good, right? So we get this like flood of like dopamine, and it feels fantastic. So we can get really hooked on this feeling and how rewarding the experience of getting things done is. So then we want to repeat it, and then we start to crave it. We do it over and over and over again. But you know what? Some of the reasons that we can find ourselves taking on too much, filling up our schedule beyond what we can really handle. Like I said, there's a number of different reasons why that might be. One is that whole idea of the fear of missing out. So some people pack their schedules to the bursting point because they're afraid of missing out, being unproductive. You know, if you really think about it, sit back and think for a minute. If you start to become anxious at the thought of like slowing down and not getting things done, you just might be addicted to being busy. But being busy is also different than being productive. Another reason that a lot of people find themselves being way too busy is when we're trying to avoid facing reality, facing some maybe negative emotions that are too big that we don't want to handle. So then we occupy all of our time with tasks and doing, just so that we can avoid any difficult issues that are happening in our life, like, I don't know, family problems, a relationship breakdown. Some of us use being busy as a way to avoid difficult emotions, because you know what, when our mind isn't occupied with a task or a social event or work, we're left with ourselves. We're left with ourselves, with our thoughts, with our emotions, and for a lot of people that can feel very uncomfortable. And then anxiety can kick, and we have to actually like pause and like think about what's going on in our lives and deal with those difficult emotions, thoughts, actions, whatever it might be, that has to be dealt with, and we may not be ready to like deal with it. For some people, I have found that being busy can actually be because we think we are supposed to be, because it's almost like a status symbol, right? Like in our world today, being busy is given praise, right? Like, oh my goodness, you're so amazing. You can handle so much, right? And so we get praise for our hard work and our productivity and all the things that we can cram into a day. So being busy all the time can make you feel like almost like you're winning in life and can like elevate your sense of like social status. So you keep doing it, you keep remaining busy because you think that other people look up to that and that in some way, shape, or form that you are being like revered by being too busy. So, but trying to be our best all of the time creates a feeling of, well, I mean, it creates that important feeling that we're somehow valuable and important because we're busy. And that in and of itself can become addictive. I also have noticed that, there's times where we might feel guilty when we're not doing things and we feel like, no, I need to be more productive. And so, we can almost get anxiety or guilt or stress when we slow down. And again, that goes back into that last one, right? Where there's value that is placed on achievement and productivity in our society. So we'll feel this pressure to constantly be accomplishing things. And it's become like the norm to feel and think that the more that we're doing, that somehow relates to how much we are worth. And so if we're relaxing, if we're not doing anything, unpleasant emotions come up like guilt or shame or worry. And so if you can see yourself in any of these, you might be busy for the wrong reasons. Like, I mean, I know that life throws things at us and there's times where we are legitimately busy. We have a lot of things on our plate because of whatever it might be. Like different seasons of life seem to give us different things, but we need to ask ourselves, why? Why am I so busy? Am I trying to avoid something? Am I trying to avoid thinking, feeling, experiencing? Am I doing this just to please others? Am I doing this because, am I taking on so much because I'm being a people pleaser in my world? Because sometimes we need to really process that and decide whether or not we need to take a step back. We need to notice when, if I'm not busy, do I feel worried? Do I want to just fill up my schedule? Instead of just pausing, taking a deep breath, letting myself experience those emotions, letting myself sit in it and letting it just be. There's also the opposite too, right? Like sometimes people won't take on anything in their world, and sometimes are not being busy has a root cause to it as well, and we need to be exploring that idea of like lazy, right? And I think we all have a little bit of lazy in us. It's sort of a natural human tendencies to be lazy. Like if we can get away with not doing something, there's a lot of times where we will do that or take the easiest way to do something. I even think about myself, there's things that I absolutely hate that I will avoid and procrastinate and not do because I don't want to do them. And it's that lazy kicking in. So whether I'm being really busy, and sometimes my busy is because I'm trying to avoid those things. I'm trying to avoid those activities that I loathe doing. So if I just fill up my schedule, then I don't have time for that. And guess what? Then I can't do it. Yay, win for me, right? So there really does need to be some reflection in the actions that we take, the busyness we take on, and why am I doing this? What am I avoiding? Is there a shift that I need to make so that I can walk through life a little bit differently and deal with those tough things that need to be dealt with? Well, let's check our motive. Check in with yourself. Why are you busy? Is there an adjustment that needs to be made, whether a mindset adjustment, or is there something that needs to be dealt with that you're covering up? And so at the heart of it, are you busy for the right reason? Food for thought. Yeah. Are there better ways that you could be occupying your time? I really like the 4 quadrants that Stephen Covey puts out in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where there's the 4 quadrants, and in quadrant 1, you have your important and urgent tasks. In quadrant 2, you have your important but not urgent tasks. In quadrant 3, you have your urgent but not important tasks. And in quadrant 4, you have not urgent, not important tasks. And sometimes we busy ourselves up in quadrant 4, where we're like cruising social media or binge watching Netflix, or, just filling our time with stuff that's really not important. In the quadrant 3 stuff, usually the stuff that falls into that quadrant is like other people's priorities, other people putting their priorities on your time. In quadrant 1, it still can sometimes be other people's priorities, but they're actually important and need to be done. And sometimes they're things that you have to do. So those are things that are actually important and they are urgent. But we want to spend most of our time living in quadrant 2, where it is important things, but it's those things that we value. So it could be related to like relationships, like our kids or our spouse or friendships. And, so they're very important things that fit within our value system. They're not necessarily like urgent, like if I don't get this done now, then the world is going to fall apart type of things. But they are really important. It's a place we're putting a great deal of our time, energy, and effort into, spending a lot of our time in that quadrant 2 living, where we've identified some things that are really important to us, and we need to be dedicating that time and that energy in that space. Yeah, I want us to focus on that, like, again, food for thought. Why are you busy? Is there things within the quadrant 2 living that you need to be focusing in on and shifting your time and energy towards, and just shifting this sense of busy to what's really important? Hope this has added value. I'll be back next week. Bye for now.